Ladies and gentlemen, there is a story of a man who walked through life with open eyes, yet remained blind to the truth. He looked, but did not see. He lived, but did not awaken. Today, I want to speak to you not about something new, but something ancient, something powerful, a technique once forbidden, not because it was dangerous, but because it was liberating. This is not a method for the weak-hearted. It is a path to activate your inner vision, to pierce through illusion, distraction, and fear. When your outer eyes close, the inner eye opens, and when that happens, you no longer see the world as it is told to you. You begin to see it as it truly is. Let us begin this journey inward, to awaken what has been dormant and to see beyond. True vision begins where the eyes close. This is not just a poetic idea, but a deep truth that reflects the nature of inner awareness. In a world dominated by stimulation, distraction, and endless visual input, we have been conditioned to believe that seeing is only a physical process. We rely on our eyes to show us reality, but seldom do we question the quality, depth, or clarity of what we're actually perceiving. Our physical sight, while powerful, is limited. It sees only what is external, only what reflects light. It cannot penetrate the layers of truth that lie beneath appearances. And so, when we seek deeper understanding, when we truly want to awaken, we must learn to close our eyes to the outside and open them to the inside. When the eyes close, the mind begins to listen. It listens not to noise, but to silence. It listens not to voices, but to presence, and this is where vision begins, not with light, but with awareness. Inner vision is not dependent on the eyes at all. It is the ability to perceive without distraction, to observe without judgment, and to witness without reacting. Most people are caught in a loop of stimulus and response. Something happens and they react. They see something and they form an opinion. They hear something and they respond with emotion. This is not clarity. This is not vision. This is programming, and to access inner vision, we must first disrupt this pattern. Closing the eyes is symbolic of stepping out of the illusion. It is a gesture of going inward, of turning away from the ever-changing world and turning toward the unchanging self. It does not mean to ignore the world. It means to stop being lost in it. The eyes feed the mind constant data, most of it irrelevant. We scroll, we consume, we compare, and slowly the noise becomes normal. Our inner clarity becomes clouded. We mistake information for wisdom, movement for progress, and busyness for purpose. But when you close the eyes, all of that begins to fall away. The outer noise fades, and the inner silence reveals itself. In that silence, we start to see, not with the eyes, but with the mind's eye, not with the brain, but with consciousness. This inner vision does not operate in the realm of images. It operates in the realm of insight. It is intuitive, it is precise, it does not need proof because it recognizes truth, and the deeper you go into yourself, the clearer this vision becomes. You begin to see your own patterns, you recognize your own conditioning. You notice the fears that drive your choices, the attachments that shape your identity, and the lies you have accepted as reality. This is what it means to see from within. The path to inner vision requires discipline. It requires intentional stillness. In the beginning, the silence may feel uncomfortable. You may notice restlessness, boredom, or anxiety. This is the mind detoxifying. This is the nervous system recalibrating. You are not doing anything wrong. In fact, this is a sign you are beginning to access deeper layers. When the outer eyes are closed and the inner world becomes loud, this is the moment most people turn away. But if you remain, if you endure the noise and allow it to pass, a profound stillness emerges, and from that stillness, vision arises. Inner vision is not something to be learned. It is something to be remembered. You were born with it. It is part of your nature, but it has been buried under years of distraction and externalization. The forbidden technique is not a complex practice. It is a simple return, a return to self, a return to silence, a return to presence. When the eyes close and the breath slows and the thoughts settle, the veil lifts, and you begin to see, not what the world shows you, but what your soul already knows. This is where clarity lives, this is where purpose begins to unfold, and this is where real transformation takes root, not outside, in the shifting sands of circumstance, but inside, in the still, deep waters of your own awareness. The mind must be still to see clearly. This is a principle that transcends philosophy, culture, and time. It is a universal truth known to warriors, sages, and seekers alike. In a state of stillness, clarity arises naturally. Without it, even the most powerful mind becomes clouded, reactive, and unfocused. When water is disturbed, it becomes muddy. You cannot see your reflection in it, but when it is still, the image becomes clear. The mind operates in the same way. It reflects whatever is placed in front of it. But if it is constantly in motion, constantly stirred by thought, emotion, or stimulation, that reflection becomes distorted. To access your inner vision, you must first calm the surface of your consciousness. In our daily lives, we are bombarded by stimuli, notifications, conversations, responsibilities, and the endless pull of the external world. The mind jumps from one thought to the next like a monkey leaping from branch to branch. This restlessness becomes a habit. It becomes our default mode of operation, and in that mode, true clarity is impossible. Because clarity does not come through effort. It does not come from overthinking, analyzing, or pushing. It comes through stillness, through silence, through non-resistance. Many people confuse mental activity with intelligence. But the most powerful mind is not the one that races the fastest. It is the one that can stop. It is the one that can pause, observe, and remain unaffected. Stillness is not the absence of thought. It is the ability to witness thought without being consumed by it. It is a space of awareness where you are not chasing ideas, but simply watching them arise and dissolve. From this space, insight begins to surface, not constructed by logic, but revealed through presence. In the martial traditions, before action comes stillness, before movement comes intention. A warrior does not strike out of chaos. He strikes from balance, from composure, from calm. The same applies to the inner world. Before you can see what is true, you must become still enough to notice it. Truth does not shout, it whispers, and unless the mind is quiet, you will not hear it. The practice of inner vision, then, begins with this understanding that silence is not a void. It is a portal, but stillness is not easy. The moment we try to become still, the mind resists. It floods us with thoughts, urges, distractions. It presents memories, plans, worries, anything to stay in control. This is where discipline enters, not the discipline of force, but the discipline of return. Every time the mind wanders, you return. Every time distraction arises, you observe and return. This repetition is not failure. It is training, and through this training, the mind begins to settle. Like water left undisturbed, it begins to clear. As clarity increases, something remarkable begins to happen. You start to notice the subtle movements within yourself, the patterns of emotion, the origins of desire, the hidden fears that operate beneath your choices. You begin to witness the mechanics of your inner world, and through this witnessing, you gain freedom. Because what you can observe, you are no longer controlled by. This is the power of a still mind. It sees, it discerns, it understands. A still mind is not passive, it is not dull, it is incredibly alert, precise, and sharp. Stillness enhances awareness, it refines perception. You become more present, more sensitive, more attuned to the world around you. You hear what others miss. You see what others overlook. This is not a mystical gift. It is the natural consequence of inner silence. It is the fruit of training. Without stillness, life becomes reaction, one stimulus after another, pulling you in different directions. But with stillness, life becomes response. A response grounded in awareness, not habit. You begin to choose rather than be pulled. You begin to move with intention rather than impulse. This is the difference between seeing and truly understanding. One comes from the eyes, the other comes from clarity within. There is a reason this principle is rarely taught deeply in modern life. A still mind cannot be manipulated. It cannot be easily controlled, sold to, or distracted. It sees through illusion. It sees with inner vision, and so cultivating stillness is not just a personal practice. It is a form of liberation. It is a return to center where the mind no longer dictates your reality, but serves your awareness. In this space, you are no longer lost in thought. You become the witness of thought, and the witness always sees clearly. Detach from illusion to access inner clarity. Illusion is not always something grand or dramatic. Most of the time, it's subtle. It's built from the stories we tell ourselves, the beliefs we've inherited, the labels we've accepted, and the distractions we consume daily. Illusion is anything that distances us from what is real, from what is essential. And in modern life, illusion is everywhere, disguised as success, masked as happiness, camouflaged as purpose. It feeds our minds, shapes our emotions, and slowly clouds our ability to see clearly. To activate your inner vision, the first step is detachment. Not from the world itself, but from the false images you've accepted as truth. Detachment does not mean indifference. It means observation without identification. It means seeing something for what it is, without being controlled by it. Most people live inside a mental projection, a filtered version of life created by past experiences, conditioned thoughts, and emotional imprints. They respond not to the present moment, but to their interpretation of it. This is illusion, and as long as you are trapped inside it, your vision will always be distorted. Inner clarity requires that you see not just the world, but yourself without filters. Illusions are not just external, they are internal. We carry them in the form of identity, the roles we play, the images we maintain, the masks we wear for acceptance and validation. These become prisons. The more we cling to them, the more we suffer. Clarity comes when we begin to question them. Who am I when I'm not performing? Who am I when I'm not trying to impress, compete, or prove something? These are not philosophical questions. They are essential. Because the one who sees clearly is the one who is not pretending, the one who is not afraid to face themselves without illusion. This process of detachment is not always comfortable. When you begin to see clearly, you may not like everything you see. You may notice how much of your life is driven by fear, fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of being insignificant. You may see how much of your behavior is based on pleasing others, fitting in, or appearing a certain way. But this discomfort is the beginning of awakening. It is the moment the illusion starts to crumble, and what remains is the raw, unfiltered truth of who you are beneath all the conditioning. The mind resists this process. It is designed to protect its version of reality, even if that reality is false. It prefers familiar illusions over uncomfortable truths. That's why detachment must be intentional. You must create space between you and your thoughts, between you and your emotions. This space allows you to observe rather than react, to question rather than accept, to choose rather than follow, and in that space, the clarity of inner vision begins to arise. There are simple practices that support this detachment. Stillness, silence, solitude, these are not escapes from reality. They are tools to reconnect with it. When you are alone with yourself, with no roles to play and no one to impress, you begin to see what is real. You begin to notice the noise in your own mind, the desires that pull you, the fears that hold you back, and with time these begin to lose their grip. You stop being a puppet to your thoughts. You stop being a servant to illusion. The external world will always offer distraction. It will always tempt you with images of a better life, a better version of yourself, always just beyond reach. but these are mirages. They promise fulfillment, but deliver emptiness. Real fulfillment does not come from chasing illusions. It comes from alignment with your values, your truth, your inner compass, and alignment is only possible when the vision is clear, not the vision of your eyes, but the vision of your inner knowing. The more you detach from illusion, the more sensitive you become to truth. You begin to notice what resonates and what feels hollow. You begin to trust your intuition. You begin to sense what is real, even when the world tries to convince you otherwise. This is not about withdrawing from life. It is about engaging with life from a place of clarity rather than confusion, from truth rather than illusion. Detachment gives you the ability to move freely, to respond wisely, and to live authentically. It frees you from the need to perform and allows you to simply be. Discipline is the gateway to inner awakening. Many people speak of freedom, clarity, and transformation as if they are spontaneous gifts. But in reality, these qualities are earned through consistent practice. They are not the results of wishing or waiting. They are the results of discipline, not discipline in the harsh, punishing sense, but in the quiet, steady commitment to returning again and again to what truly matters. Discipline is not about control, it is about alignment. It is choosing to stay on the path, even when it's difficult, even when there is no visible reward, even when the world pulls you in 100 directions. Inner awakening is not a sudden event. It is a gradual unfolding, and each layer that peels away, each illusion that falls, requires effort. Not forceful effort, but conscious effort. Effort born from intention. You cannot awaken if you are ruled by distraction. You cannot see clearly if your attention is scattered. You must train the mind, just as a warrior trains the body. You must cultivate inner strength, not through resistance, but through presence. Discipline is the structure that allows awareness to grow. Without it, even the greatest insights fade into forgetfulness. In the beginning, discipline feels restrictive. It challenges comfort. It requires sacrifice. You have to wake up early, sit in silence, resist the urge to distract yourself. You have to turn inward when everything in you wants to look outward. But over time, this discipline becomes freedom. It gives you space. It gives you control, not over the world, but over your own reactions. You stop being a prisoner of habit. You stop being a servant of thought. You start choosing your inner state rather than being dragged by external conditions. There is a kind of power that comes from doing what you said you would do, even when you don't feel like it. This is integrity, this is self-respect, and it builds a foundation inside of you, a foundation that is not shaken by fear, by judgment, or by change. Discipline trains not just your mind, but your character. It teaches patience, it teaches humility, it reveals your patterns and tests your commitment. Most importantly, it teaches you to stay present, to keep showing up, especially when you don't see immediate results. In the world of the Shaolin Temple, discipline is not a punishment, it is a path to mastery. Every movement, every breath, every repetition is done with awareness. The goal is not perfection, the goal is presence. And presence is cultivated through routine, through structure, through the willingness to repeat the basics. In your own life, you don't need to adopt extreme practices. What you need is consistency. A few minutes of silence each day, a conscious breath before reacting, a decision to listen instead of speak. These small acts done regularly reshape your mind. They bring you into contact with the deeper layers of yourself. Without discipline, you are easily thrown off course. Every emotion pulls you, every distraction captures you, every difficulty stops you. But with discipline, you develop resilience. You learn to sit with discomfort. You learn to observe your impulses without following them. You learn to stay with the process, even when it's slow, even when it's uncertain. This staying power is what allows awakening to happen, because the truth does not reveal itself all at once. It unfolds slowly, in moments of silence, in spaces of stillness, in the discipline of returning to your breath again and again. There will be days when nothing seems to change, when the inner noise remains loud, when the clarity you seek feels distant. These are the moments when discipline matters most, because awakening is not a straight path. It moves in spirals. You revisit the same thoughts, the same doubts, the same fears, but each time you see them a little more clearly. You react to them a little less, and this is how growth happens, not through dramatic breakthroughs, but through small, consistent shifts in awareness. The world will not encourage your discipline. It will offer shortcuts, entertainment, constant stimulation. It will tell you that you're missing out, that you should be chasing something, proving something, consuming something. But discipline asks you to do the opposite, to pause, to turn inward, to listen deeply, to stay rooted in your practice, even when no one is watching. This kind of commitment changes who you are at the core. It sharpens your mind. It purifies your perception. It makes you trustworthy to yourself. Inner awakening is not about escape. It is about engagement. It is about meeting yourself fully, honestly, and consistently. And that meeting only becomes possible when you are disciplined enough to create the conditions for it. Discipline opens the door to awareness. It removes the fog. It clears the path. And it shows you, again and again, that the answers you seek are already within you, waiting to be revealed through your steady return to the present moment. What you seek outside already exists within. From the moment we begin to understand the world, we are taught to look outward, outward for success, for happiness, for approval, for meaning. We are conditioned to believe that life is a chase, a pursuit of something that lies just beyond our reach. And so we spend our days striving, comparing, wanting. We chase images, titles, experiences, and relationships, hoping that they will complete us. But no matter how much we acquire, the sense of fulfillment remains temporary. Because the source of what we seek is not found in the external world. It lives within us, untouched, undisturbed, and ever present. The world reflects back to us what we already carry inside. If you carry restlessness, the world will seem chaotic. If you carry doubt, the world will appear uncertain. If you carry peace, the world softens. This is not a metaphor. It is a direct experience available to anyone who truly turns inward. The reason people keep seeking more is not because they haven't found enough, but because they haven't yet turned in the right direction. The real journey is not forward or upward. It is inward. It begins the moment you stop asking the world to give you something and start asking yourself what you already have. What you are looking for, whether it is clarity, love, purpose, or strength, does not need to be created. It needs to be uncovered. It is already there, buried beneath layers of thought, conditioning, and distraction. The mind is like a mirror covered in dust. No matter how hard you stare at the reflection, you won't see clearly until the dust is removed. That dust is the noise of the outside world and the beliefs you've absorbed without question. The process of going inward is not about adding anything to yourself. It is about stripping away what is false, so what is true can shine through. Many people believe that inner work is difficult or even selfish, but the truth is that until you connect with what is within, you will continue to project your lack outward. You will keep searching for validation, for someone or something to give you what only you can find. You may blame others for your pain or circumstances for your emptiness, but the moment you realize that everything begins within, a great shift occurs. You move from being a victim of life to being a participant in your own awakening. To realize that what you seek is already within you requires trust. Trust in yourself and trust in the process. It also requires silence, because the inner voice that speaks truth is quiet. It does not shout over the noise. It does not argue or convince. It waits for you to slow down. It waits for you to listen. In that listening, you begin to remember. You remember who you are before the world told you who to be. You remember the simplicity of presence, the fullness of breath, the richness of being. And in that remembering, the search begins to dissolve. Spiritual traditions across time have echoed this truth. The kingdom is within, the light is within, the teacher is within. These are not just poetic phrases. They are instructions. They point you back to the only place where true transformation can happen, inside your own consciousness. No book, no mentor, no external achievement can give you what already belongs to you. They can guide you, inspire you, or challenge you, but the actual realization must come from your direct experience, and that experience is only possible when you stop looking outward for confirmation. There is great power in the shift from external seeking to internal discovery. It brings peace, because you no longer need to control or manipulate the world to feel whole. It brings freedom, because your happiness is no longer held hostage by circumstances. And it brings strength, because you start to recognize the unshakable foundation that has always been within you. This inner source cannot be taken, broken, or diminished. It is not dependent on age, appearance, or achievement. It simply is. This does not mean you withdraw from the world. It means you engage with it from a different place. You are no longer driven by need or lack. You act from fullness. You love from completeness. You create from inspiration, not desperation. Your energy changes, and the way the world responds to you changes with it. When you realize that what you were chasing has always been inside you, the chase ends. And what remains is stillness, clarity, and deep contentment. The practices that help uncover this inner truth are often simple: meditation, breath awareness, reflection, solitude. These are not techniques for escape. They are tools for remembrance. Every time you turn inward with sincerity, you peel away another layer. Every time you sit with yourself without judgment, you go deeper, and with each step, the illusion of lack fades. The false belief that something is missing begins to dissolve. Because in the quiet, you come face to face with what has always been whole. To see beyond is to surrender the need to always understand with the mind. The mind is a powerful tool. It categorizes, analyzes, and helps us navigate the physical world. But it also has limits. It clings to the known, the measurable, the logical. It wants certainty, control, and predictability. Yet inner vision does not arise from control. It arises from openness. To access deeper layers of awareness, you must go beyond mental calculation. You must learn to trust what is beyond thought, beyond words, beyond the surface. This requires surrender, not as a weakness, but as an act of profound strength. Surrender does not mean giving up. It means letting go of resistance. It means loosening the grip of constant thinking, constant planning, constant needing to figure everything out. When you surrender the compulsive need to understand, something subtle begins to awaken. You start to feel more, you start to sense more, you begin to listen, not just to sounds, but to silence, not just to words, but to energy. This is the doorway to deeper perception. It is not about seeing more with the eyes. It is about perceiving more with the inner self. The reason many people cannot see beyond is not because they lack ability, but because they are trapped in over-identification with the thinking mind. They confuse thought with truth. They believe that if they can't explain it, it must not be real. But many of the most profound experiences, intuition, insight, stillness, presence are beyond explanation. They are not meant to be dissected. They are meant to be felt, and to feel deeply, the mind must soften, the heart must open, the ego must step aside even for a moment, so something deeper can emerge. In ancient traditions, this surrender was called emptying the cup. If the cup is full of your own ideas, beliefs, and expectations, nothing new can enter, but when the cup is empty, it becomes receptive. This receptivity is the essence of inner vision. You are not trying to impose your will on the moment. You are allowing the moment to reveal itself to you. You become still, attentive, humble, and from that stillness, a new way of seeing arises. not through effort, but through openness. This kind of surrender is difficult in a world that rewards control. We are taught to take charge, to be certain, to be confident in our opinions. But true inner vision comes when you admit that you do not know. When you embrace mystery instead of fearing it, when you allow life to unfold without forcing it into a shape that fits your expectations, in surrender, you stop reacting and start receiving. You stop fighting and start flowing. And in that flow, new insights begin to surface quietly, gently, without demand. One of the most powerful forms of surrender is letting go of the past. The mind constantly revisits old memories, clinging to regret, replaying pain, holding onto identities that no longer serve. This creates a fog that clouds perception. You cannot see clearly if you are looking through the lens of yesterday. Surrender means allowing what has happened to rest. It means releasing the narrative you've been repeating. It means accepting that you cannot rewrite the past, but you can free yourself from its weight. This freedom opens the space for new vision. Another form of surrender is releasing the need to control others. We often try to change people, to make them understand us, to make them behave in ways that make us feel safe. But this need creates conflict, tension, and misunderstanding. When you surrender the need to control, you begin to see others as they are, not as you want them to be. You listen more deeply, you judge less, you allow connection to arise from authenticity rather than manipulation. This shift not only deepens your relationships, it sharpens your perception. Even surrendering the outcome of your own efforts is a form of clarity. When you take action but let go of attachment to the result, your energy becomes cleaner. You are no longer driven by fear of failure or desire for approval. You act from alignment. You do what is right, not because it guarantees success, but because it resonates with your inner truth. This kind of surrender brings peace, even in chaos. It brings purpose, even in uncertainty, and it sharpens your ability to see what is truly unfolding beneath the surface. Surrender is not passive, it is deeply alive. It requires alertness, sensitivity, and courage. It is the conscious decision to step out of the way and allow a deeper intelligence to guide you. This intelligence is not separate from you. It is the part of you that is timeless, aware, and beyond fear. When you surrender, you come into alignment with this deeper self, and from that alignment, your inner vision becomes clear. You begin to sense what is true, even when it defies logic. You begin to move with the rhythm of life rather than against it. You begin to perceive with the whole being, not just the mind.